All right, we should be up now. Most High in Christ, shalom, shalom. You in with the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge. Priest and Captain, not the Zaka Shah. We're live. Everybody let me know y'all can hear me clear. Got this okay, Most High in Christ, y'all in. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me clear. We're going to get picked right back up. We were in that Hebrews, the 11th chapter, our cloud of faith and witness of what our forefathers and everyone went through to be a warrior, to stand with the Most High. All of our stories, all of our heritage, all of our history, these things encompass in our records. Everybody just give me a one. Let me know y'all can hear me clear. All right. Should have this going. Just let me know y'all can hear me clear. I'll just wait for some ones. Shalom, sis. Shalom, sis. Y'all by Shimmy Shah. Y'all Shamal Atha Shimmy Shah. Shalom, troop. Y'all by Shimmy Shah Rekatham. Okay, Most High in Christ. Hey, shalom on Instagram. Y'all just make sure y'all sign in so the officer taking attendance can get your name. All right. Let's just check and see if I'm coming in clear. Now, all right. Let's see. Class show up. All right. Most High in Christ. All right. We looking clear. Is it low? Y'all hear me? All right. Perfect. Let's go. So we on Hebrews. We going back to Hebrews, the 11th chapter. The Lord talk about being a warrior, being a soldier, very important. Doing hardships, especially of what's coming up in this time. You understand? In this time frame, very important. You understand? Y'all got any questions? Just type them into the chat. Like what our forefathers went through, what they endured to stand with the Most High. I didn't get any ones, but I hear myself clear. All right. So we're going to Hebrews, the 11th chapter. We're starting in verse 1. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for. The substance is what something's made of. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. And it's going to give some examples of what our forefathers and foremothers hoped for. You understand? And this is what our faith is based on. You understand? So it says the evidence of things not seen. You taking it as a credit, even though you don't see these things. The evidence of what it is based on what you are hoping for. And this is what the Most High gave, and then it's going to give some instructions as to what our forefathers did, you understand, and how them obeying the Most High became the substance of what our faith is based on. That's why they're so important. In verse 2, it says, for by it the elders obtained a good report. They got a good report of the Most High that the things that they did pleased the Lord. For through faith, we understand that the worlds, worlds, that means it's plural. There's more than one world. We learned that in John 3:16 when it says, for God so loved the world. Then we also learned that when Christ said in John chapter 17 and verse 9, he said, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. So what it's talking about world, that definition of the word world means human age or society. That's what the definition of the word world is here in the scriptures. All right. Every nation of people has their own world. In the sea world, everyone in the sea world has to be able to survive under the water. If you take an animal that was made by the Most High to be in the sea world and you put them on dry land, your whales will die, your sharks will die, your fish will die, your coral, your sea life, your octopi. You understand, those sea creatures that the Lord made to live in that world are going to be unalived. They're going to lose their life. They're going to suffocate with not being in water because they live in a different world. You and I are not made for the sea world. We are made for the terrestrial world. The Lord put us on land. This is where we're supposed to be. The things that we need to survive. You understand? We got oxygen, we got land. If you go and try to live in an aquatic life as you are a part of the sea world, you're going to find very quickly that you cannot breathe in the sea world like the fish can, like the sharks, like the aquatic animals made for that world. You and can't breathe under there. You breathe underwater, you will be unalived. You understand? Your lungs will fill up with water, your blood vessels, your brain will fill up with water, and you're going to bleed out and drown. Be terrible. You understand? The different nations of people believe and live in a different world. What we look at as something dirty or clean is not looked at as dirty or clean in another world. Something that's covered in dust or dirt might be something that's unclean to us. Wiping your behind with your hands is unclean to us. But in India, they only eat with their right hand because their left hand is used for wiping their behind. In our world, we use toilet paper. You understand? That's our world. We have a cloth to wipe and clean ourselves. That's our world. In our world, we use running water. Running water is how we clean ourselves. Water running out of sinks, running out of faucets, water watering out of the rivers and the lakes. That's what we used before we developed a system to where the water can be distributed to homes and houses. That's our world. In the other nations of people's world, they don't bathe in running water. They get in any body of water they can find, whether it's clean or not, whether it's covered in feces. We have a sanitized world. You understand? Where we put feces and waste in one place. When other parts of the world, they don't sanitize their places. You go to different parts, you'll see people defecating on a beach while you were there thinking it's wonderful on the beach. You go somewhere on the west coast of Africa, you will see people defecating on the beach. Like pull their pants down and take a dump on the beach, because in their world, that is not something that is frowned upon. In our world, it is. You understand? Drinking blood from a living creature. Our oppressor likes to eat his food with blood still in it. We have laws in the Bible, our faith in the Bible, where the Lord tell us not to consume blood of a creature, because the life of the creature is in the blood. You're not to drink an animal's blood. You understand? Life of the creature is in the blood. That's what the Lord told us, not to drink blood. Even though our oppressor, he drinks blood. He eats bloody steak, undone hamburgers and hot dogs. You understand? Like he does that. In our world, we cook things till it's all the way done, till there is no more blood, till it's brown, till the pink and red is gone. There's no blood in the bones, in our chicken, in our meat, and in the beasts that we eat that are lawful. We don't drink and eat blood because the Lord gave us from in our world, this society that the Lord prepared for us. He gave us instructions, and those instructions shape and frame the worlds. In Genesis, the 10th chapter, after the flood, the entire planet was refilled with people over a period of many, many years. Once again, life did not start in Africa. Africa has never been the cradle of civilization. In fact, the majority of the continent of Africa, just as a sidebar, because our oppressor is pushing Black people to go back to love Africa again. They do this every 15 to 20 years, the year of return. They try to tell you to go back to Ethiopia because it's the motherland. Then they tell you try to go back to Egypt. Then it was Sierra Leone at one point. Then it was Monrovia, which name was changed to Liberia. Then it was South Africa during Nelson Mandela's run when he was super popular. Now it's Ghana. It was Ghana a couple of years ago. Now it's Kenya now. You understand? Like they run this game on Black people every 10 to 15 years. And it's because the Christian church has not taught our people what's in the Bible. And we have learned from our oppressors that life started in Africa. When the Bible, which is what most Blacks and Hispanics say they believe in because they're all Christians, even though the Christian church does not teach what is in the Bible, Galatians chapter 4 and verse 26 tells you where the cradle of civilization is, where life began. This is an important precept that you will need. You understand? It says, but Jerusalem, which is in the Middle East, it's not in Africa. It's never been in Africa. Even before they drew lines on the map, there was never Jerusalem, Israel, the Garden of Eden. It has always been the Middle East. The very first civilizations, as old as human records would date them, from Adam, from not the Nile Valley, which is what they want you to believe, you understand, but from Phoenicia, from Babylon, from Mesopotamia. Those areas have always been in the Middle East, the cradle of civilization. It is the land that all of the wars have been fought over, from Turkey to Saudi Arabia to Iraq, Iran. All of these wars have been fought over this land, even before they discovered oil, before they discovered gold. Has always been fighting over that land. Since the book of Genesis, the Lord said that there would be a flaming sword guarding the way to the tree of life, to the Garden of Eden. There's been a flaming sword guarding it. That's why it's always been war in the Middle East. You understand? So that's very important. Galatians 4:26, Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. Jerusalem is the motherland, not Africa. You understand? The only reason you believe that is because our oppressor, Caucasian scholars, came up with an identity to give the real biblical children of God, which today are so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Those Mexicans you see on the border that America does not want to let into the country, those are the real children of God. Those Venezuelans that America's starving to death, the Cubans, America's starving to death, the Haitians that their president conveniently, you understand, gets assassinated every single time. You understand, all of the neighbors around America that are not ruled by other oppressors from Europe or Caucasians, they all have repeated instability. And it's because our oppressor does not want the real children of God to be self-sufficient, to stand on their own. It is also because we have not obeyed the Most High, and the curses that the Lord put on us for disobeying him have stopped our people from rebuilding to get strong. That's why it's important that the scriptures say for us to gather ourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired. You understand? We as a people, our world, just like it says in Hebrews, the 11th chapter, our world is undesired. You understand? That's why they have a problem, not with the Chinese that America's about to go to war with, not with the Indians, the East Indians that America is also about to go to war with, which, if you don't know, the BRICS, to pull together international resources to subvert the stranglehold that the Caucasian man, whether he be from Europe or Canada or America or anywhere else, they've spread their empire under the guise of being French or British or English, you understand, or Spain, the Spaniard called oppressor, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the Italian man, the Greek, the German man. All of those are known as Edomites in the Bible. That is the family, the forefather of these so-called Caucasians, along with the Russians, the Belarusians, and all the rest of the white families that are fighting each other in Europe over resources because they have none unless they travel to unalive other nations of people and steal the resources from their lands, their jungles, their forests, by subjugating those natives and putting them on reservations and just wiping them out altogether, just like they did to the Hawaiians. You understand? All of that wonderful property in Hawaii, turns out the only property that gets burned up is the part that Oprah wants to buy, and the rest of the land that the poor people, who America has been starving to death since they colonized and stole Hawaii from the ethnic Hawaiians, which is the same thing they did to the Seminoles, same thing they did to the Native American brothers and sisters on reservation. It is the same thing they've done to Mexico, the same thing they've done to Central and South America, starting all the civil wars, all the guerrilla wars, all the drug cartels. Same thing happening with the Middle East, with the Mujahideen fighters that later became ISIS and Bin Laden and Al Qaeda. All of that was started by our oppressor. All of them live in different worlds. You understand? Our world is the one where if the police pull you over at a traffic stop, chances are something terrible might happen to your mother, to your father, to your sons, to your daughters, to your uncle. That's our world. No one else in America lives like that except for our world, blacks and Hispanics. We live like that. The Chinese don't live like that. You understand? They don't have to teach their Chinese children about the proper things to say and how to carry themselves to not get unalived at a traffic stop. They don't have to teach that to their children. The Arabs don't have to teach that to their children. The Africans don't have to teach that to their children. The East Indians don't have to teach that to their children, but you have to teach your Black, Hispanic, and Native American children. And if you do not, and they come across an oppressor who is hunting them, then you could be watching a video wondering, why would they do this to my son? Why would they do this to my father? Why would they do this to my grandmother? Why would they body slam grandma in the parking lot, breaking her ribs and her wrists? You understand? Because this is our world. They don't do this. You understand? And this is what God has been trying to teach us since the book of Genesis, that the world that he created for us, that we live in, it requires us to have faith and obey him. Because if we do not, the other nations of people have a world that will prey on us. And that is what has been happening for the last few hundred years all across the planet. You understand? Hey, shalom, boy. Yahweh Shabbat. All right, Most High in Christ. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Hebrews chapter 11, and we're going to read verse 3 again. All right, so give me Hebrews 11 and 3. Welcome, Shaw.
Con.
All right.
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God.
By the word of the Most High. The worlds were framed. Like we just finished reading, there are many different worlds. The word of the Most High framed our world, our society, because the definition of the word means age of society. Now, our world was framed by his words. He gave instructions to Adam for Adam to teach to his sons, a dietary law, meaning this is how you eat food. It may not seem like that because the entire planet has now learned our rules and laws, and they have learned that our way of doing things that the Lord gave us to make us above all the other people that he created is a much better way of doing things than the way that their forefathers had always done those things. So now they learned that it's much better if you bathe and wash yourself every day, because you can stop diseases that way. You can stop sicknesses. It's much better if you wash the food and get the blood out of it, because the blood has the life. You understand? It has different bacteria and diseases. That's why they recommend you now cook food at a certain temperature. Chicken must be this temperature. Beef must be this temperature. These things come from our laws. That was not our oppressor's culture. That was not the culture of the other nations of people. The different nations of people still eat raw food. It's called sushi. You understand? They still eat raw meat that's not all the way cooked. That's Israelite customs. All of those seasonings and salt and flavor, that's Israelite customs. You understand? That comes from us. That's our world. God gave us those instructions in the commandments to do these things. Baptism is taking a shower, washing your behind. If you bleed, clean yourself. If you had a surgery or illness, separate and clean yourself. If you are unclean, whatever you touch is unclean. Don't let everyone else touch something covered in blood, covered in bodily fluids, covered in feces. Don't defecate where other people are. Have a separate place where you go and relieve yourself apart from where all the people are. Otherwise, you'll get cholera in the water. Otherwise, you'll get hepatitis in the water. That's not the culture of the other nations of people. That's Israelite culture. That's in the Bible. As a matter of fact, I just want to show just a piece of just what the Lord put in here. Mind you, this is thousands and thousands of years before written records. You understand? Look up, ease thyself abroad. Ease thyself abroad. You understand? We lived 40 years in the wilderness. And in the Bible, God gave us instructions about how to make sure that everyone is not walking around in feces everywhere like the Hamites, like the East Indians who bathe in cow feces. What comes out of a cow's behind, you understand? They take a bath in it and rub it all over themselves. The Hamites, not the colonized Hamites, not the Hamites who have our Bible to learn how to wash and bathe themselves regularly to not get all of those Hamite diseases. You understand? But the ones who have our records, the ones who don't, they cover themselves in cow feces. You can look it up on the internet right now and see I'm not making these things up. But God gave us instructions for us to not be like them. Deuteronomy 23 and verse 13. Just so that you can understand, these are the instructions that God gave us. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon. Your weapon is a paddle. There's a tool that the Marines use. Shalom, sister. Yahweh Shemala Thashim Shah. I got y'all now. Shalom, sis. Shalom, Shara. All right. So now there's a tool that they use. And what this tool is used for, it is also a very powerful chopping tool, a powerful smashing tool, but it is also a powerful digging tool. Any of you have ever been into the military, you understand. Let me see if I can get a picture of this tool. It's like a marine shovel. Marine shovel tool. Because if you go out to war and you have to use the restroom somewhere, and you have, of course, you're going to need to take a bathroom break, to defecate, to take a dump, you out in the field somewhere. Well, you can't, leave behind traces of where you've been. You understand? Of course, every nation of people steals from the Bible. Every nation of people has learned this is the greatest record on the entire planet Earth. All right, let me make sure you can see this. Give me just a moment. I want to pull this up because this is what, actually, camera, slide, share screen. This is what the Lord is explaining here. All right, let me see if I can pull this up so y'all can see this. This is what the Lord is explaining. This tool right here, this is a shovel tool. You understand? It says the U.S. Marine Corps, this is a tool that is used. I don't know if they still use it. I was never in the Marines, but this is a tool that was used. See, U.S. on there is a shovel tool. There's a multi-purpose tool that was a part of the kit and moving and everything when you went. Well, the Lord gave instructions because we were always a military or a militant nation. That's why they have a difficult time called the E-tool, the water. They have a difficult time understanding how and why the Isupk is so militant, so aggressive. Our nation was set up to function as a military structure. Our nation was always a militant nation because we were always surrounded by enemies. We got enemies. We got the Chinese on one side, the children of Ammon, the Assyrians, the Ishmaelites. You got Arabs. You got different East Indian groups. You got different South Africans and Egyptians and the Ethiopians and the children of Cush. And you got the Edomites, the so-called Caucasian and their families surrounding us. Every side that we were on, we are surrounded by enemies because, again, Israel is the center of the planet. You understand? That's the central focal point where life began. That's the land the Lord gave to Adam. That's the land that the world restarted on. That's the land the Lord gave to Abraham. That's the central point. So our nation was set to function this way because the Lord gave us these instructions. Well, in the commandments in the Bible, it says in Deuteronomy 23 and 13, and thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, just like you saw in that picture we just showed. And it shall be when thou shalt ease thyself abroad, when you go to relieve your bowels, relieve yourself, thou shalt dig therewith. You're going to dig with that tool that's on your paddle, that's on your weapon. You're going to dig, and thou shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. What came out of you, came out of your bowels. You're going to go outside of where everyone else is, and you're going to dig into the ground, and then you're going to dig so that once you relieve yourself, you're going to then cover it back up and bury it. That is what the military teaches you to do to this day. That was in the Bible thousands of years ago. The Lord gave us commandments to do that. Not only one of the biggest issues when you are in a large camp in an open area, one of the most dangerous issues about going to war or about being in camping is sepsis, fecal matter, contamination. Contaminate your water supply, contaminate your gear, contaminate your food, contaminate your feet. Trench foot, gangrene starts to rot away. If you look up any old war documentaries, you will see that these things were a major problem in places where the soldiers had to continue to travel back and forth on foot at a regular basis because they also had to live in camp there, which is what we were doing in the wilderness for 40 years. This is also how you go to war. That's why it's in the Bible. It's in the law. You understand? So what Trooper Akal Sapar is reading, he's explaining these things that the Lord gave us. Like our faith is based around being militant. You understand? That's what our faith is based around. It's not based around being like Gandhi, you know, peace, peace, namaste, let's hug it out. It's not based around the Dalai Lama. It's not based around singing, beaving the tambourine, let's hug everybody. Let's go along to get along. It's not based on slamming your head to the ground 5 times a day in Islam. Our faith is not based on that. It's not based on being prayer warriors. I'll pray about it. That is from the other nations of people. Our faith is based on being warriors because the Lord in heaven, God is a man of war. You understand? That's what our faith is based on. That's what the instructions the Lord gave us in the Bible are based on. This is how we became a nation. And this is what it will take to make us a nation again that is yet again surrounded by enemies, just like we always were, until our king returns, and then all that's going to get put to rest. You understand? So keep going. Read from where you were. All right.
So that things which are seen were not made of things which appear.
Right. The things that you see, they don't come from things that do appear. What do you see? You see lights, you see tables, you see people. Well, guess what? That's what you can see. But what makes all of these things? You got microbes, you got atoms, you got neurons, you got microscopic things that you can't see. All the blood vessels in the cell walls and the walls and all of the different things that make up the materials in the wood and the metal and all the metal compounds. That's why you have something called the periodic table. I might not be pronouncing it correctly. I ain't seen or said it in a while, but it's a table of elements that tell you what everything is made of. Your bones are made up of certain elements. That's why they tell you you need to get your vitamins every day. You need your magnesium, you need your copper, your zinc. Your brain needs this medicine, needs these minerals. Your blood needs this, the vitamin K, vitamin E. Well, those things, you cannot see them. You cannot see the molecules that make up the sand. You cannot see the H2O, but you do see the water. You can't see the air, but the air is there. You understand? You can't see how the bird maintains its flight, but the Lord designed all these things just like he said he made them in Genesis. Our faith is based on this. You understand? So keep going.
Verse 4. By faith, Abel offered unto the Most High a more excellent sacrifice than Cain.
Well, let's get that because we're going to break it down and see exactly what it's talking about. Hold that. We're going to go to Genesis, the 4th chapter. This is what our faith is based on. Anyone who tells you that the New Testament is saying something different than the Old Testament, they're lying to you. And they're very cruel because they're stopping you from learning what God actually put in the Bible so that you can learn what to base your faith on. That's why it's imperative to come into the Isupk, because this is the only place that God appointed that you can learn what is in the Bible, that you can learn from the actual men that God set up to teach the Bible. You cannot go wherever you like or your mom or your grandma, you understand? Just like you can't go to someone else and join the United States Marine Corps. You can't go to your buddy Doug, you understand, down in Philly and say, hey, Doug, I want to join the Marines. You say, sure, I'll make you a Marine. Or go to your friend down in Florida. You say, hey, Jimmy, I want to join the Marines, Jimmy. And Jimmy said, yeah, I'll make you a Marine. That's what it's like going to another place to learn the Bible outside of the Isupk. You understand? You can't just make someone a man of God because you like what they say and they tell you, yeah, sure, I'll tell you some things. It's not like that. You understand? The Spirit of the Lord decides where to send the tithes. The Spirit of the Lord decides who is in charge, who he appointed, not a vote or a choice of who you like. And this is the Spirit that was on Cain, which we're getting ready to read about in the garden. And that's the spirit of Christianity. Everybody gets to choose what they like best. And eventually we find out that the Lord wasn't with it after you've wasted countless lives and decades of resources, manpower, and everybody's ability and hopes have gone down the drain. That's what happened when Tazadakia he ended up passing away in prison after decades of telling people to follow his fake Israelite group. After decades of people following GMS, when they teaching to violate children because a little girl has her period at 9 or 10, that means you can jump on her like a goddamn animal and God's okay with it. That's why we don't join fake Israelite groups. That's why they're not appointed to teach the Bible. Or your pastor, that everyone keeps going to church when pastor after pastor comes out with a new scandal. They having sex with boys. Pastor's boyfriend releases the sex tape. They could talk about, I made a mistake. Like, you did not make a mistake having sex with a grown man. That recorded it. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. These are not men God appointed. These are men that you chose. You understand? Only man God appointed is Commanding General Yohana. You understand? He appoints men under him. That's how the Bible has always been. That is what we're reading about. This is the same thing that the Lord taught Adam, who he put in charge, and he had a wicked son that refused to obey his father. And that evil that was inside of him caused him to do a terrible thing that we're getting ready to read about in Genesis, the 4th chapter. So take me to Genesis chapter 4 and verse 1. Trooper call.
Come. Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife.
Adam knew Eve. Knew is talking about sex. To know a man, you understand? In this context, is talking about sex. How do we know? How can we be sure that that's what it's talking about? When Adam knew Eve, what happened from him knowing her? Adam knew Eve. What happened after he knew her? Keep going.
And she conceived.
She did what?
Conceived.
She conceived. To conceive means she was able to have a child. That's how you know what happened. Adam had sex with his wife, and then she got pregnant. That's how it happens. I know the Christian church won't teach you. They leave it up to Cardi B and Glorilla and Megan Thee Stallion to teach your children about how babies are born. But this is in the Bible. You understand? Adam had sex with Eve, and then she got pregnant. Keep going.
And bare Cain.
And bare Cain. She had a boy. First boy's name was Cain. Keep going.
And said, I have gotten a man from the Most High.
She said, I got what?
A man from the Most High.
She said, I got a man from the Most High. She looked and saw this is a boy. She wasn't confused. There weren't 100 different genders. There wasn't, well, I wonder what this is going to be when it grows up. I don't want to call it a boy because I don't want to force a gender label on this, whatever this is that just came out of me. She looked, she saw a rod, and she said, oh, this is a boy. The Lord gave me a man. You understand? Very simple. In our world, in our society, it is very simple and easy to know what gender something is. We don't have 10 different genders. There's no confusion. This got a rod and a pair of stones. This is a boy. If it does not, this is a girl. Very simple. There's no confusion. There's rules about being a girl. There's rules about being a boy. The Lord gave us these things, and this is what our faith is based on. And it may not seem like a big deal when the Lord told us to start saying this in the 60s, when he brought the truth back into the earth. But now, how big a deal is it what gender you are today in 2023? How many bathrooms, different bathrooms are when you go to the grocery store? You understand? When your kids go to school. How many genders are there on TV that they passing legislation and all of this about? trans this and bi that, and non-binary this, and quarter this and fifth of that, everything. Well, our society and our world that we have our faith based on according to the scriptures, the Lord made a man child and a woman child that will grow up to be an adult man and an adult woman. Very simple. Keep going.
Verse 2. And she again bare his brother Abel.
She made more children. Bear means to carry children. That's how did she get children the first time? They had sex. Had more sex, made another baby. Now she got another boy. Keep going.
And Abel was a keeper of sheep.
Abel was a keeper of sheep. This is very important. Don't take for granted why it's saying those things. That's not written there for no reason. It's written there to tell you that Abel was a keeper of sheep because those are things that the Lord requires. That has always been Israelite customs to keep sheep, to be shepherds, to take care of goats and cattle. That has always been our custom, our way. That's what we did in Egypt. We were known as shepherd kings in Egypt, or the Hyksos. You understand? We were always known by that. That was always what we did, even from the very beginning, while we were in paradise, in the Garden of Eden. You understand? We kept sheep. Why did his son keep sheep? Because his father did what? You understand? His father, if you got a daddy and you a son that keeps sheep, well, you must have learned how to keep sheep from your daddy. Who else could have taught you? You in the Garden of Eden, it's you, your brother, your mom, and your dad. You understand? That has always been our custom in our culture. That's not the customs of the other nations of people. That's Israelite customs. The Egyptians looked down on us for being keepers of sheep. And guess what Egypt ran into a problem with? Famine. They ran out of food. We raising sheep. You know what a sheep is? 200 pounds of food per animal. 180, 160, 175 pounds of food and clothing and garments from sheepskin and wool and fur and rugs and blankets and everything you need to survive a winter and a food shortage, because that's what makes you strong. Big, strong sons filled with sheep and bull and goat and oxen and everything else wonderful from the land. That's how the Lord set our society up. We were always an agricultural society, and that's what we did in Egypt. That's still today what we do in America. All the food in your grocery stores, Isupk is bringing you that food. Zebulon is bringing you that food. You understand? So, like, I gotta get this on the chart. Bear with me 1 minute. Instagram, make that on there. Let's see. Give me just a moment. Keep reading the call. Salaki.
Colonel Khan. But Cain was a tiller of the ground.
But Cain was a tiller of the ground. There's nothing wrong with being a tiller of the ground. That means he worked the ground. Whatever's on the ground, he tilled the ground. Cut grass. Cain kept sheep. He deal with the sheep, the livestock, the bulls, the goats. It said he kept sheep, so we'll stick with sheep. The other brother did not keep sheep. Why is that important? Because this is what Cain did for what he did on a regular basis, and this is what Abel did on a regular basis. This was their job. So keep going.
Colonel Khan. Verse 3. And in the process of time, it came to pass.
Right. And in the process of time, so some time went by. Time went by, went on. Oh, Salakia. What happened? I think I hit the screen. Salakia, bear with me just a moment. Oh. Salakia, it's in my hand. That's the problem. Salakia, y'all bear with me just a moment. You Tawab call?
Colonel Khan.
All right, go ahead. Keep reading. Salakia. All right.
That Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Most High.
A what?
An offering.
An offering. Cain brought an offering unto the Most High. Why is that important? That Cain brought an offering unto the Most High. Why does that matter? What is the purpose for Cain bringing an offering in the first place? Hello? What's the reason? Why did he do that? Who told him to do that? For what reason would he bring an offering? Who wouldn't give it a shot? I'm getting feedback from you, Cole. You know what? I think that's me.
Okay.
I think that's me. What about now? No, that's not it. Okay, I think that might be me. The law was in place in Adam day. Officer Topazar. That's right. Officer Topazar. Out of Texas. Shalom, boy. Yeah, I was trying to break it up. Yes. The Lord gave him instructions to do so because it is our custom to bring an offering to your power, to your God. And if he brought an offering, he knew to bring an offering. Right? Because it's in the law. So if he knew to bring an offering, what else did he know about bringing an offering? Damn right, Officer Yabadar, that's right. It was in our laws. Adam taught his son. What else did he know? Who want to give it a shot? I think that's you. You might need to mute when you're in or something.
Yeah, I don't hear nothing on my end, but I'm gonna leave out and come back in.
No, don't do that. Don't worry about it. If it get too bad, I might have to do it. Don't worry about it. Who told him to do that? He knew he was supposed to bring an offering. Right? That's right. That's right. Who's that speaking on Instagram? You knew which type of offering to bring. Who's that speaking on Instagram? He knew the law. That's right. It's a part of our law. Was it brother or sister on TK Custom? Who's that speaking on Instagram? Right. He knew which type of offering he was supposed to bring. Now, our faith is based on obeying the Lord. The Lord gave us instructions. He told us when to bring an offering. He told us why to bring an offering. He told us what type of offering to bring. You understand? All right, no sweat. So go ahead. Keep reading the call.
Con. Verse 4. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the firstlings of his flock.
The firstlings of his flock. Why did he bring the firstlings of his flock? Who told him to do that? That brother, Abel brought the firstlings of his flock because the instructions about bringing an offering was where to bring it, when to bring it, and what to bring. And Abel brought what the Lord required. Cain didn't give it to him. He didn't care what God wanted. And that's the spirit of Cain to this day. Cain don't care if God made a man and a woman. Cain said, I want to make non-gender. I want to dress the little boy up as a girl. I want to dress the little girl up as a boy. I want to give the little boy hormone infusion pockets so he can keep a voice like you understand? To suppress his testosterone so that he don't turn into a poor man the way the Lord decided. Cain want to change that. Cain want to make a man and a woman equal. You understand? That's always been the spirit of Cain. Cain want to tell you you can kill your baby. I mean, you can unalive your baby in your womb. Cain say the woman got a choice. If you don't want to bring forth that baby that the Lord put in you can pay some money. You can get a whole system set up for someone who will unalive your baby so you don't have to deal with a decision that God made based on a decision that you made. You understand? Cain say he decide on what's life and what's death. That's what Cain decides. So keep going. Read what you got now. Cain didn't care.
Yeah, I think I heard the feedback now, otherwise. Let me see. I think it left. Okay. Yes. Salakia. Verse 4. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof.
He knew to bring the
And
firstlings and the fat because that's what the Lord required. And Abel knew it, and Cain knew it too. Keep going.
and the Most High had respect unto Abel and to his offering.
The Most High respected what Abel did because Abel obeyed the Lord. Keep going.
Verse 5. But unto Cain and to his offering he had
But
not respect.
hold on 1 second now. The Lord want to make a stark contrast. Every time you see if, and but, those are very important. Sometimes the most important thing in the scripture. The Lord respected the brother that obeyed him and did what he said. The Lord did not respect the brother that disobeyed him and refused to do his commands. The Lord didn't respect that. He didn't accept that from the very beginning. Man wasn't doing a whole bunch of sin. He still got paradise. The Lord chose Adam and Eve. They in the garden. He maintaining it. Life is wonderful. The dew come up and water the crops in the morning. All of that's in there. Guess what? The Lord, he wasn't sending plagues, floods, hurricanes, wildfires. He wasn't doing none of that. Paradise was still in effect on the earth. His chosen people was doing what he said. Except one thing out of his chosen. The lineage of Adam, Cain decided he didn't want to obey the Lord. So the Lord was like, all right, you want to do what I said? I ain't going to respect that. Keep going.
And Cain was very wroth.
And who was wroth?
Cain.
Cain was very angry. Not only did he do the wrong thing, not only did he get full instructions and knew exactly what to do, he didn't care that he got instructions. He wanted to go against the instructions. He wanted to go against his father, go against the customs that the Most High set up for his family. He wanted to go against the Lord. He didn't care. And now, he's wrong, he's angry. That's what you see on the video. When your oppressor get caught doing something, he get caught doing something wrong. He get caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He get caught planting drugs on somebody. He get caught doing something. Well, you know, sir, that's not the law. That's not right. I dare you to touch me. I dare you to touch me. I dare you. He get mad and turn red. He ready to unalive something. That's the spirit on Cain. That's the spirit on our oppressor to this day. That's his spirit. That was his spirit in Genesis when God put him and his family in paradise. There was no bills, no rent, no insurance, no asthma, no allergies, no bad feet, bad back, no bladder problems, no lung or liver disease. There was no poverty, no drug problems, no unemployment. Everything was perfect in paradise. And the spirit that was in this evil man was to go against the Lord, to face criticism for disobeying the rules that he taught, and now he gets angry. That's the spirit on our oppressor. That's his spirit. That's the spirit on Donald Trump. After all of his misconduct, all of his backdoor deals, all of his breaking the rules, his spirit is, why are you messing with me? They over there doing stuff. What you talking about? The crimes of our people, unaliving people in grocery stores. What about black on black crime? What about that? What they doing over there? Like, it's always to not have to face any sort of, not even punishment, any sort of criticism for the fact that he did something wrong, that he knew was wrong, because he knew it was time to bring the offering. He said, you know what? That's what I got. I'll just give him that. I don't care if that's what he wants. He could have went to his brother and got some sheep. You don't think he had sheep? He was a keeper of the land, right? If your brother got sheep, you don't think you got some sheep? If me and you live together, we living in paradise, I'm keeping sheep, not one or two sheep. I'm keeping sheep. You don't think my brother got sheep? You don't think my mother and my father got sheep? You think I'm the only one with sheep Nobody else in my family get any sheep. I just keep all the sheep to myself. More than likely, he had sheep too. There's nobody in paradise but your family. You had sheep. He knew what the Lord required. He didn't want to give the Lord what he required. And that has been the spirit against righteousness from the very beginning. This is why the Lord later on separated us from Esau and said, was not Esau Jacob's brother? You understand? The Lord had to separate us because there's one people that is so vile and so disgusting and so evil and so cruel that even when they do something wrong, they will turn and get violent against you because you are doing something right. That is why it's so evil that the Christian church blames poor Black people and poor Hispanics for their suffering in the ghetto, in the way that the police treat poor brothers and sisters that can't afford good lawyers, that can't afford a good education, whose neighborhood is depressed and poor and can't afford good things to take care of themselves and their community. And the Christian church uses that as a justification for the mistreatment of stop and frisk, racial profiling, police unaliving brothers going to the wrong house, no knock warrants, shooting you through your car, all of these things there. They use it as a justification until it's their son wearing a suit and tie, or their daughter at a college campus, in her cap and gown, getting beaten and stripped out of her dress at the daggone Waffle House on the campus of her college town. You understand? Like, this has always been what our oppressor does with authority. He's not in authority so that he can keep the peace and order. He's in authority so that he can get justification for the evil that he already wants to do. And don't let anything else teach you differently because of a smile, because of a good morning, because of a, hey, how you doing, Willie? Because of a, they make you your favorite latte, or they give you your burger or your milkshake where you go, or they sell you something that you need. Don't let your emotions make you believe differently from the faith that God has been trying to teach us since Genesis about our oppressor in the Bible. This is a very important lesson that is very easy to overlook, that the Christian church will never teach our people. So now he's wrong and he's mad when he knows he's wrong and he violated the rules. Keep going from now.
Colonel Khan. And his countenance fell.
And now his face is sad. His countenance, your countenance is the look on your face. It's fallen. He's not happy and cheerful. He's sad. I don't understand. Why? The rules are made to be broken. Who's ever heard that phrase, the rules are made to be broken? Y'all give me a one if you've heard the phrase, rules are made to be broken. Who heard that before? You heard that before, Trooper Call? Who's heard that before? You understand? I'll give you another one. It's just a little white lie. Y'all put a one in the chat if you ever heard rules are made to be broken. It's just a little white lie. You understand? Here's one of Esau's favorites. He's skimming a little off the top. You ever heard that before? Anybody? There's nobody in here. Me and Yagadar. In here. Who else has heard these things before? And now he got caught. I just took a little. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't a big deal. I just took a little extra. A little here, a little there. Nothing major. Nobody's gonna miss it. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't mean for that to happen. How was I supposed to know she wanted me to stop? How was I supposed to know it was too far? That's the spirit of Esau. That's your frat boys, college boys, eternal order of police. That's Esau's spirit. This was his spirit from the beginning. That's why the Lord has been used since this. Keep going.
Come, verse 6. And the Most High said unto Cain,
like the Lord is going to answer Cain now. After Cain is upset for getting, not because he got punished. The scripture does not say that the Lord punished Cain for bringing the wrong offering. The scripture says the Lord didn't accept it and he was mad about it. It didn't say he got punished because he did the wrong thing. It just says he got angry. And now the Lord is going to address him being angry. Keep going.
Why art thou wroth?
He said, what you mad about? Keep going.
And why is thy countenance fallen?
This is black man talk. It's written in old Quaker English. We understand. But this is black man talk. What's wrong with you? Fix your face, boy. What's wrong with your face? What you over there crying about? What you mad about? Fix your face, man. Get it together. Tighten up, son. What's wrong with you? What you over there all upset about? This is what the Lord said to Cain. Keep going.
Verse 7. If thou doest well,
if you do what's right, you did the right thing. Keep going.
Shalt thou not be accepted?
He said, if you did what was right, don't you think you'd be accepted? You knew what to do. You got the instructions just like your brother. So if you do what's right, don't you think you'd be accepted? Like you know you did something wrong. What you mad about? Are you supposed to do something wrong and be accepted? You understand? And that's the spirit of our oppressor. Our oppressor wants to do the wrong thing, unalive everybody, destroy everything, burn up the wilderness, start all kinds of trouble everywhere, and then be looked at as the hero. It's like, well, you unalived a million people. Hey, I did what was necessary at the time, and who are you to judge? Who are you to tell me I'm doing something wrong? You don't know the pressures and the stress. You murdered, you unalived a million people. You don't know what I have to put up with. You don't know what it's like to sit and know. You're dismissing the fact you unalived a million people. Because we're supposed to care about you being upset more than you unalive people. You know what? I'm tired. Now he get angry. Now he turn red. Now he ready to unalive something. Now he gonna grab his gun. He's gonna use his power. That's why the Lord said, if thou come among him, make no fault. You understand? Because thy life hangeth in the balance when you are around your oppressor. This is what our faith is based on. You understand? This is what the Lord has been trying to teach us. That the other nations are not like Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We have spirits on our people from joining them in their culture and their way of life that have turned us evil to each other. But this is their actual faith. And we don't see that because everyone is so happy that they're able to get rid of preying on our people while we're destroyed. You understand? So give me just a bear with me, just a moment. I'm gonna do this for this cutoff. It's a lot, y'all. Bear with me, just a moment. Get this on. Just. now. I think we should be. Still ain't. So like it. Bear with me. There we go. All right. In again. So lock it. All right, there we go. We should be good now. All right, most high. All right. So go ahead from where you were. Triple call.
Okay. Come. And if thou doest not well,
and if you don't do what's right, you don't obey the Most High. Keep going.
sin lieth at the door.
Sin is going to be at your door. It's going to be right there. Like your best friend coming to pick you up. And that's what happened to our oppressor. At this time, he was not an oppressor. He was just a bad son that refused to obey the Father. Let's see what he did next. This is a very important, very painful lesson. Again, the Bible is not magic, but this is what the Lord wants us to learn from. Keep going.
And unto thee shall be his desire.
And the Lord said, unto thee, meaning unto sin, shall be your desire. Everything that sin wants you to do, you are going to do it. That's why the Bible calls the oppressor the man of sin. The man of sin, meaning this man represents sin in the earth. He represents sin. The oppressor represents sin. When you think of evil, you're supposed to think of the oppressor. You're supposed to think of unaliving 99 million black people in the transatlantic slave trade, the cotton field, sugarcane plantations, dropping the atomic bomb on the Japanese, putting Hispanic babies, the tribe of Isupk and Zebulon, in dog cages, starving the brothers and sisters in Haiti, the tribe of Levi, allowing the brothers and sisters to be unalived and starved and lose their lives in the Superdome in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, dropping bombs on Philadelphia, flooding our communities with crack cocaine and heroin, the same way he did to India and China and Cambodia and Vietnam and Africa. Everywhere he goes, he does this to people. He steals their land, steals their identity, steals their fruits and vegetables, all of their resources, their minerals. If they don't cooperate with him, then they'll blame you and say you're the bad guy. And then they'll come in and unalive 1 million of your people and take over Libya from Muammar Gaddafi, take over Iraq from Saddam Hussein, take over Afghanistan from this president, force the president of Iran and the other countries in Syria. Either you step down or we'll tell the world that you're an evil man so they can all look at me as the hero while we go and unalive everyone who's loyal to you and steal your country. You understand? This is the spirit of the oppressor. And this is the lesson that God wanted us to learn from the very beginning of the Bible, that the Christian church breaks their neck to make sure that you don't ever learn that the oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Is why Hispanic families are taught to mejor la raza, which means to get close as you can to being a white person, because that means you're closer to God. That is the fault of the Christian church. The very first lesson in the Bible God wants you to learn, before even being weak, you understand, under your woman. Adam was weak under Eve. He listened to Eve instead of the Most High. Then what happens? They get put out the Garden of Eden. What happens then? It's time to bring an offering of the Lord. One son doesn't obey the Most High. One son does. Now let's see what happens next. Keep going.
And thou shalt rule over him.
Thou shalt rule over him, meaning you are going to rule over sin. There is a man on the earth. Like the Christian church teaches you that the devil is a red man living at the center of the earth with horns and pitchforks. That's not who the devil is according to the Bible. That's not who God said the devil is according to the Bible. The Lord said that the devil is a man. He said is a man. Satan is an angel. The devil is a man. Lucifer is a man according to the Bible. Isaiah the 14th chapter. These are things that God wants you to know if your faith is going to be in believing about the God of the Bible and obeying the God of the Bible. These things you must know. He said that sin shall lie at your door and you are going to be the man of sin. Read that last part one more time, a call. Lucky, I think I got you muted. That feedback was because you weren't muted. And you understand?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Read
the last part.
Read the last part. And thou shalt rule over him.
Read from sin lieth at the door. Read from that point.
Come. Sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire.
The Lord said, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee, unto sin, shall be his desire. Meaning whatever sin wants you to do, you are going to obey sin. You understand? Hold that. Stay where you are. Remember, this is what the Lord wants you to learn about your faith that he's explaining and teaching in the New Testament. This is what it has always been about, learning this. Hold that. Go to Salakia. Don't hold that because I already got you holding two things. Stay where you are, and then I'm going to read 2 Thessalonians chapter 3. All right. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse 1. Remember, the book of Hebrews, this is what your faith is about. This is what the disciples in all of those schools that Paul set up throughout Asia Minor, which is exactly what we do. Under commanding General Yohana, he sends captains and officers out to set up schools the same way that the Lord sent Paul out to set up schools so that Israelites, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in different cities, states, and countries can learn about our ancient heritage and come back to our God and rebuild our world and our society everywhere that we are scattered. These important lessons about our heritage is what our faith is based on. Now we went from Hebrews learning about what our forefathers endured to build the faith that we have in the Most High. Now we're learning about Cain and Abel. The Lord said that because Cain decided to disobey the Most High in his spirit, you understand, that he would be the man of sin because he chooses to do what is wrong, even though he knows what is right. Now, the Bible is line upon line, precept upon precept. This is what you just read is the precept for what I am getting ready to read. That is the same spirit for the same faith that the disciples are teaching the brothers and sisters to come into the truth in the New Testament. This is exactly what he's teaching them, that the Lord told would happen to Cain for being an evil man who is against God. Now, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and chapter 2 and we're going to start at verse 1. I'm going to read a few verses and I'm going to try to go through them. And then we're going to go back to see what the Lord was saying from the very beginning, that the world could not understand that God made the oppressor the devil that the Bible speaks of. Now, we in the New Testament. This is how precepts work. There's something in the Old Testament, several places, that matches with what's in the New Testament. That's what the Bible says line upon line, precept upon precept. Here is the one about the man of sin. All right. Now, Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means. And our people have been deceived by many means, by church, by Islam, by democracy, by Christianity, by HBO, by Hollywood, all of the movies you see depicting people in the Bible. Who do you see? You see Charleston Heston is Jesus. You see Jim Caviezel is Jesus. I mean, Charleston Heston is Moses. You see an oppressor, some beach boy with dirty, sandy blonde hair. You understand? Some oppressor, some Caucasian, pretending to be the people of the Bible. And Daniel, every time you go and see a play about the Bible, you see an oppressor, a so-called Caucasian man, an Edomite. Well, the Bible says, let no man deceive you by any means. That's how they spread Christianity, which is the belief that the oppressor is like unto God and not the devil that God said he was. For that day shall not come. What day? The day when all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans turn back to the Most High. That is what is happening now, because you, brothers and sisters, have woken up to the truth and have obeyed the Most High to get into these ISUPK classes so that you can learn from the men that the Lord set up who the man of sin is, so that we can come back and rebuild our world with our faith that the Lord gave to Adam from the very beginning. That day shall not come except there come a falling away first. What is the falling away? When blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans stop worshiping the oppressor, stop loving our oppressor. You understand? Stop loving the so-called white man and pledging allegiance and saluting his flag and joining his military, going to his church, having his beliefs, celebrating his independence and his holidays, and going to worship his God on his day, and naming ourselves after him and his culture, and his being a drug dealer, and his being LGBTQI, and his society saying that a woman and a man are equal. A man can leave a woman if he don't want to be with her. A woman can leave a man to go and be with another man. You understand? That a man cannot have more than one wife if he decides. Like, that's not our society. That is what our oppressor decided. You understand? And this is what the Lord is trying to teach us, that the more we fall away from him and his customs, and that man of sin be revealed. Who is the man of sin? The son of perdition, meaning the son of hell, the son of sin. What did the Lord just finish telling Cain after in the Garden of Eden? He decides that he don't want to obey God in paradise. He decides he's going to be a rival to God. Satan does not rival himself against God. Satan is an angel that obeys the Most High. The oppressor rivals himself against God, not Satan. You understand? The man of sin is the oppressor. This is what the Bible is saying. This is what God has been trying to teach us for thousands and thousands of years. How do you know who this is talking about? We're going to read some more. This is Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 4. Who opposeth, meaning what does it mean to oppose? He's the enemy. He's the opposition. You hear the word the ops, the ops. Well, this is the ops in the Bible. God said that the so-called white man is his ops in the Bible because he opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God. God say he made a man and a woman. What does the oppressor say? Man, woman, female, trans, gay, bisexual, the Q, the I, the alternative, the sometimes Y, the non-binary, the gender fluid. Sometimes I'm a boy, sometimes I'm a woman. Sometimes I'm a little girl, sometimes I'm a big girl. All of this nonsense, that is him opposing God. That was his spirit from the very beginning. The Lord said sex is marriage. He made marriage a piece of paper. And you can change your mind and say, I don't like this piece of paper. I don't want to be with this person no more. It's over. Like, he opposes to the point where if you ask most blacks and Hispanics, what is marriage? Their belief is the opposed belief to what God says. What is marriage to most blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans? What is marriage? You understand? Y'all type in. What is the world, the civilized, westernized, developed world? What do they think marriage is? True or call? What do they think it is?
Uh, 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 a piece of paper, in a wedding ring out of one.
Yes. The world thinks marriage is a piece of paper and a wedding ring. Y'all type in. We got Kazakia, Shalom, boy, y'all by Shimel Shabrakatah, Officer Yagadar, Matazah Korala come in here. We got Officer Yarash, Matazah Ana. We got brothers and sisters, Sister Raiha, young brother Stephen Baldwin in here, young brother Stephen, Sister Coco, you understand? Trooper Shamaga Ball, everybody in here. What does the world think marriage is? Y'all on Instagram, y'all can answer. Officer Tapazar, you understand? The brother and sister in here. What does the world think marriage is? A piece of paper, a ring, bended knees, monogamy. You understand? All right, that's what Officer Yagadar said. Let's get some more. Let's see if we get some more participation. What does the world think that marriage is? You know, if you ask your mother and ask your aunt, then go ask your teacher. Ask somebody at the grocery store. Ask your cashier. You understand? What does everybody think a marriage is? They believe that marriage is a ring and a piece of paper. That is because the oppressor, the man of sin, opposes what God said. Standing before a preacher, exchanging vows and wedding rings. That's very good. Very detailed trooper call, man. A mighty warrior there. You understand? Like that's what our people believe. And our people believe these things. You understand? Shalom. Shusha Brekatah. Our people believe these things because there is a man of sin that the Christian church failed to teach us about, that the church told us to love the man of sin until they're not happy anymore, then it's divorce. That's right, sister. There's a man of sin that is the reason why blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans believe marriage is a ring and a piece of paper, because there is someone who opposes God and forced his belief on everyone he came in contact with. And if you disbelieve his way, just like in the Garden of Eden, if you disbelieve or you don't accept that he wants to make two women and two men, if you don't accept that some 6-foot man in a dress telling you, you better call me ma'am, you understand, with his size 14 foot and his gigantic catcher mitt hand and his 2-3-inch Adam's apple and big, broad linebacker shoulders, if you don't accept that he wants to be a girl, you are wrong. There's someone who opposed God to make and enforce that on the earth. You understand? Like, this is what the Bible is saying. He opposes everything that's God. The Bible describes God as a black man with an afro on his head, sitting on a chair made of fire with lightning above his head. You have never in your life seen a depiction of the actual God in the Bible when any Christian talks about God. What do they talk about? When they say God, what is on their mind? What do they think? What are they talking about? They're talking about pictures that they've seen in the Roman Catholic Church and in the Vatican. Let's do a test. God. Let's see. Let's see. Who comes up? You understand? Let's do, because we're talking about the Bible. Who comes up? God of the Bible. Let's see what shows up. God in the Bible. Let's see if we can get some pictures. God in the Bible. We just want to do a test. The Bible says prove all things. The Bible says prove all things. Let's get some proof. Let's take a look. This is a search here. God in the Bible. God in the Bible. See what you see? This is who? Is this an Arab man depicted as the God in the Bible? Is this an East Indian man depicted as God in the Bible? Is this an African man? Is this a Chinese man? Who is this a picture of? This is damn Matthew McConaughey. That's who this is. This is Pierce Brosnan. This is damn Thor. You understand? This is who is depicted as the God of the Bible. Why do you have a picture as the God of the Bible that is the image that the world looks at as the God of the Bible? This is a biblical figure. This is the God of the Bible right here. This is the picture. Everybody see this picture? Y'all give me a 1 if y'all can see this picture. This is a picture. Why is this depicted as the God of the Bible? This right here. This man. You talk about God. You're looking at God. Why is this right here more? The most common views about the God of the Bible. Why is the pictures about the God of the Bible never an accurate depiction of a black man with woolly hair sitting on a chair made of fire with lightning around his head? Why is that not the case? It depicts God as a Caucasian. The oppressor opposes what God actually says he looks like in the Bible and made himself exalted above God. So when you see God, you don't think of the Bible, you think of him. You think of Donald Trump. You understand? You thinking of an oppressor. Let's do another test. God of the Bible. Most Christians think God is Jesus, even though we know according to the Bible that Jesus Christ is not God, which he said numerous times that Christians ignore, following behind the oppressor. Let's do this. Jesus. It says Jesus, right? We know Revelation say Jesus is a black man. Who is this guy? Who's this man? Looking like the State Farm man. Who is this man? Looking like Arrested Development or Jim from The Office with that straight hair and these blue eyes. Nice soft bathrobe with his hands open. Look like he like all the children. No adults, just children. No women. The little boys. Yeah. Who is this guy? Why is this the image that the entire world thinks is Jesus? When I type in Jesus, a biblical figure, when the Bible says that Jesus was black as if he burned in a furnace and he had white hair of wool on his head, this image opposes and exalts himself above everything that is called God. Let's do another test. Who are the Jews? Who are the Jews? See these people right here? Revelation 2:9 said, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. The Bible said that the Jews mourn and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground. Who are all of these Caucasian men in these top hats? Who are they? They're not the Jews, according to the Bible. These aren't the people that went into slavery in the transatlantic slave trade, according to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. These aren't the people who had the buffalo driven away from them violently, like what happened to the tribe of Gad, prophesied in Deuteronomy 28. They're not in INS detention centers. Who are these people? Because this is who everyone on the planet thinks is a Jew now. So when the Bible says he opposeth and exalts himself above everything that is called God, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we are called God. We are called the children of the living God. These people here say they the children of God in the Bible. Well, they oppose what God actually says. So when the Bible calls him the man of sin, you understand? Don't think of sin as something bad. Think of sin as specifically what God said not to do. Because there are plenty of things that our people believe is something bad that is actually something good according to God. You understand? God is a black man. They made God a white man. Jesus is a black man. They made Jesus a white man. God's chosen people are blacks and Hispanics. They made God's chosen people white men. That's against God, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God. That's why everybody looks at him. They think he's God. Sitteth in the temple of God. That's him in the temple pretending to be the Jews, showing himself that he is God. Even his own people think that God is a white man because he's deceived the world. This is the man of sin. And this is what the Lord said Cain would be from the very beginning in the book of Genesis if he disobeyed the Most High, which he did. Now, Trooper Call, I want you to go back to the book of Genesis. Back to the book of Genesis, where you left off where the Lord is talking to Cain. And I want you to pick up right from where you were.
Con.
All right.
And thou shalt rule over him.
So like it starts from the top, call out the scripture.
From Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted?
You do the right thing. Keep going. Very simple.
And if thou doest not well,
go ahead.
Sin lieth at the door.
Sin will always be at your doorstep if you don't do what I'm saying. But there's more. Keep going.
And until thee.
Always remember if, ands, and buts. That's very important in the scripture. In addition to sin being at your door, something else. Keep going.
And unto thee shall be his desire.
Meaning unto you, whatever evil wants you to do, you will fulfill the desires of sin. He is the man that represents sin in the earth. That's what God wanted us to learn. Whatever he's saying, chances are it's something evil. This is what God has been trying to teach us from the beginning. Let's get some more. Keep going.
And thou shalt rule over him.
You're going to be the ruler of sin. You are going to rule over sin. You are going to be in charge of homosexuality being spread across the earth. The Africans don't want homosexuality. The Arabs in the East, they said, we don't want this LGBTQ television programming to be on Netflix in India. We don't want this in Pakistan. We don't want this in the Arab world. Let's see if we can get that. That's very important. He's pushing it. Nations not accepting homosexuality. Africa under fire, not accepting homosexuality. African nations not accepting. There we go. Top search. African nations, they're not accepting this LGBT lifestyle. But there is someone that is pushing to force you in Africa to accept the LGBT lifestyle. They're fighting. There are 8 countries in Africa where homosexuality is legal. That means the other 2,000 countries in Africa are against it. And America is going to force them to accept it because the man of sin that is going to push the agenda of sin is the oppressor. He's going to push the agenda of killing, of unaliving your babies with abortion. That's the oppressor. He's going to push the agenda of chopping down the forest and bringing animals into extinction. That's the oppressor. He's going to push the agenda of making drug addiction that every nation of people sees the detrimental effects of having your people be horrible drug addicts. He's going to push it and say, you know what? We got to legalize it. We got to make sure there's cocaine, make sure there's weed, make sure there's heroin. We don't want it in our country. You're stopping human rights. We don't want our women killing their babies. You're stopping a vital human right. We don't want our women leaving their husbands. It's going to destabilize the society. It's a vital right. Women need to be able to leave their husbands. It's their freedom of rights and acts. You know what's not freedom according to the oppressor? Clean water. That's what they tell you if you're in Flint. You don't deserve clean water if you're in Jackson, Mississippi. If you're in Newport News, Virginia, where they got coal coming out of the damn sink, they had to knock down a block of projects. You understand? That's not a vital human right. Like, this is what God was warning us about all the way from the very beginning of the Bible. Keep going.
Keep going.
Come. Verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother.
He went back to talk
He
to
went
his
back
brother.
to talk to his brother.
He just finished being told, listen, you did the wrong thing. Why should you be accepted? And if you keep doing the wrong thing, you're going to get in more and more trouble. And eventually you are going to be the wicked on the earth. He warned him. He told him. Keep going. He went to go talk to the good son.
And it came to pass.
He's talking to his son. Time goes by. Hey, brother, what's going on, man? How you doing, man? You coming to dinner tonight? Yeah, you know I got this lamb going on. You bringing the vegetables? All right, that's cool. He wasn't, you know what I'm saying? He did the wrong thing. He felt bad about it. The Lord checked him. He didn't get no punishment. You understand? But his anger for not doing the right thing and not being praised for doing the wrong thing. This is what he did. Keep going.
And it came to pass when they were in the field.
When they were where?
In the field.
When they're out in the field, in that wilderness. This is the spirit of the oppressor. They want to get in the wilderness. They want to cover themselves in deer pits, sit in a tent somewhere, sitting with a rifle, keeping still for hours at a time, sitting with a shotgun, waiting to fire into a crowd of birds, waiting to kill unalive a deer, waiting to hunt a bear. You understand? Waiting just somewhere to take something's life for fun. They travel to Africa so they can hunt a giraffe. They can hunt an elephant. They can hunt a lion, because this is what is fun to the oppressor. What does the brother want to do? Brother want to go somewhere. Maybe you go fishing. Maybe go to the movies, play some ball, have a cookout, go to the mall, see some sisters somewhere to holler at. You understand? That's what we want to do. What does the oppressor want to do? He want to go in the field and unalive as much as he can. That's a good time for him. You understand? Keep going.
That Cain rose up against Abel, his brother.
He rose up against his own brother. Keep going.
And slew him.
He unalived his brother. Why did he do that? Because he was mad that he did the wrong thing. And his brother did the right thing. So he decided that he's going to take his brother's life because he wrong. That's the spirit of the oppressor. And this is what they were being taught in the New Testament. Keep going.
Come. Verse 9. And the Most High said unto Cain.
And now he coming back to talk to Cain. Keep going.
Where is Abel, thy brother?
And this is a very spiritual and important thing to learn. The Most High came back. The oppressor doesn't believe God feels any sort of way about all the people's lives that he takes. The oppressor teaches that to his soldiers, teaches that to his Marines, teaches that to his airmen, that God is not concerned in the slightest bit with all of the Asians and Africans and Arabs and East Indians that he bombs and nukes and unalives and tanks them down and blows up their cities and bombs them and puts machine gun fire through their cities, hitting all of their homes and mosques and temples and wherever else. The oppressor believes that God is okay with him just traveling and unaliving everybody because that's what he wants to do. In his mind, he has created himself to be God so that whatever he does is justified to himself. That's why when you go, you see the brothers in the Isupk go out on the streets and start talking about the crimes the oppressor has done. Not only does the oppressor not want to face the crimes he's done and is still doing, but the people who worship him as God, which is what the church teaches our people to do, they also defend the oppressor. That's the mark of the beast. You understand? Keep going.
He said, I know not.
I don't know where he at. Keep going.
Am I my brother's keeper?
Is it my responsibility to know where he is? Keep going.
Verse 10. And he said, what hast thou done?
The Lord asked him
The
a
Lord
question. You got
asked
to
the
read
question.
that
You
with
got to
some
read that
emphasis,
with
brother.
emphasis.
Like the Lord is
Like the
asking him
Lord
a
is
question.
asking him a question.
What have you
What
done?
have you done?
Like, mind you,
Like, mind
this is the first recorded unaliving in the Bible on record. Nobody was writing anything down. The only one that had a written language, the Lord gave it to Adam. Nobody else wrote anything. These records you're reading about is what the angel told Moses 40 days in the wilderness when he went out with the burning bush. He wrote these records down, but this is what happened. You understand? The Lord says, what have you done? Not only was he wrong for disobeying the Most High, and he despised his father because his father gave him instructions that he refused to follow, but now he's taking lives now. His own brother. This wasn't a disagreement. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't an argument. This was, he just did not want to do the right thing. And there was someone else he could take out his frustrations on. And that is what they do to Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which is why it is so very important for us to obey the Most High, because the oppressor is not after you because of what you're doing. It's not because you're a drug dealer. It's not because you're poor. It's not because you're a sinner. It's because he is evil. You understand? God has been trying to teach us this lesson for over 2,000 years, that the oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. He is innately evil. And the Lord wants you to put that in your spirit the same way that you put Christmas in, which was wrong, and Thanksgiving, and marriage is a ring and a piece of paper, and Happy New Year on January the 1st in the dead of winter when the new year begins in the spring. The Lord wants you to put this into your spirit, that this is not based on your personal interactions. This is not based on how you feel. It's not based on what you think. It's not based on what your mother and father taught you. This is the faith of what it means to love and obey and serve God in the Bible, to know the oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. You understand? He's guilty of crime, so he just decides to go and, take more lives. Keep going.
Keep going.
Khan. Verse 10. And he said, what hast thou done?
Go ahead.
The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground.
And this is what our oppressors don't realize. All the people that you unalive, that blood still able to cry to the Lord. You can mass genocide and dig graves and bury people in the desert all you want, and bury bodies underneath of the Catholic school. Commander General Yohana did a story where they had slaves in Philadelphia long after the transatlantic slave trade was over. They had a room that's a school that is filled with skulls. Like, you watch the Predator movie and you look at the Predator's trophy wall of all the animals and all the creatures that he's unalived, and he takes their skulls when he rips their spine out to take their DNA to make it a part of himself, to make him a stronger predator. You understand? He shines up the skulls and hangs the skulls on the wall. Well, they did that to Black people in Philadelphia. Room ceiling high of skulls of slaves. After slavery was over in the rest of the country, they still had slavery going on in Philadelphia. It's in a university right now. Right now, in 2023, the slaves, the severed heads of passed away slaves in America are in university right now in Philadelphia, lining the walls like decorations. Our oppressor does not believe that he has to pay for the crimes and the blood that he shed. The Lord said otherwise. Keep going.
Khan. Verse 11. And now art thou cursed from the earth.
And now you are
And now
cursed.
you are cursed.
God put a
God
curse
put a curse
from the earth.
from the earth.
What does that mean?
What does
Curse
that
from
mean?
the earth.
Curse from the
That
earth.
means we're going to find out. Keep going.
Keep going.
Which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand.
Your hands took
Your
your brother's
hand
life,
took your
and
brother's
the
life,
earth has
and
opened
the
her
earth
mouth
has
to
opened her
receive
mouth to
that
see
blood that you
that
shed.
blood that you shed.
That blood doesn't
That
just
blood
go away.
doesn't go away.
The life of the creature is in the blood, just like we stated at the beginning of the class. That blood has life in it. You don't get to just shed blood and, well, that's in the past. No, that's what our oppressor thinks. They still have to pay for that blood that they've shed. Christ is going to make them pay for that blood. That's why it's important to understand the faith that you have when it comes to serving the Most High. It is not to save our oppressor from facing the judgment for the crimes that their people do and their forefathers committed. The faith is so they do pay for the crimes that they have done, not so that they can escape it, so you can hug them, so that they don't feel bad about all the lives they've taken. It's so that they sit in shame and anguish and sorrow and pain and regret and cry sadness and crocodile tears without a way to ever escape from the punishment. That's what the faith of serving Christ is for. They're going to serve hundreds of years of punishment until they all cease to exist. That's God's judgment. That's what serving Christ is about in the Bible. That's the patience and the faith of the saints. That's the kingdom of heaven. The same way we blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we built America. You know how many black, just as a sidebar, the Panama Canal. Who here has ever heard of the Panama Canal? Real quick. Anybody ever heard of Panama Canal? You heard of Panama Canal? 20,000 brothers and sisters of the tribe of Zebulun perished digging the Panama Canal for the United States of America. 20,000. I bet you've never heard of that. Not in your whole life. Who here knew 20,000 of the tribe of Zebulun perished, lost their lives digging the Panama Canal? These brothers and sisters dug it with their hands. With their hands. Think of how wide that canal is. Big enough for you to fit ships through there. They did it with their hands. 20,000 brothers and sisters died. You don't even hear about it. Not on Memorial Day, not on Labor Day. They remember 9/11 and D-Day and Revolutionary War and 1776 and the 4th of July. They remember all of that. Not 20,000 of our brothers and sisters losing their lives. That's water under the bridge. It just cost the business. You know, it happens. It's a rough job. You know, lots of terrible things happen. You know, like they don't have a spirit to even care about what happens to us. And that you need to put into your spirit so that you care about what happens to your people. And blacks and Hispanics don't have the ability to do that because of Christianity. You understand? So keep going.
Keep going.
Con. Verse 12. When thou tillest the ground,
when you work the ground, till the ground,
it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength.
Like the crops and things, when you go to work the ground, it doesn't yield her strength. That's why when you look at all of the farms and stuff in America, you are barely getting what the earth can actually produce. When you look at grapes, the grapes that you see in that grocery store, the grapes that you think are big grapes, that's not what the earth actually can produce. When we went into real land that the Lord gave us, one grape was the size of a dinner plate. You understand? Like a real dinner plate. Not the plates we eating food off of right now, like a real dinner plate. You understand? One grape, not a cluster of grapes, one. That's how big it was. That little tiny things you seen in the grocery store in them plastic bags full of pesticides and hormones, that's not real grapes. I mean, they are real grapes, but the earth can produce so much more but the earth will not give to our oppressor because God cursed him thousands of years ago for this evil that he did. You understand? That's why they needed us to work the crops for them. One thing that they had repeatedly in Europe was famine. They kept running out of food. They kept running out of resources. That's why the Europeans traveled everywhere to steal everything. They needed to go to Hawaii. They needed to go to Africa. They needed to get to the Middle East. They needed to get to America, to the Caribbean, to South America. They needed to go here. Everywhere they went, they had to steal something because they didn't have anything. The earth would not yield her increase for our oppressor. That's why they need Issachar in the field, Zebulon in the field, Levi in the field, Asherites from Venezuela in the field, Benjamites to work their sugar cane and their cotton and their breadfruit plantations all throughout the West Indies. The tribe of Asher to work their fields to produce all their corn and their crops. They need us to do it because the earth will not yield for them. You understand? Because the Lord cursed our oppressor. So keep going.
Keep going.
Come. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth.
Everywhere you go, you will be a wanted fugitive because of some bombings you did here. You flooded drugs in India and Vietnam. You robbed the Cambodians. You're dumping plastic and trash all in the Philippines, all in Indonesia. You set up child brothels all throughout India and Asia. You go over here and you take heroin and flood it into China. You want it in Africa for instituting apartheid and stealing the gold and the diamonds and the cobalt and the lithium out of the Congo and the rubber trees and the oil over here and the oil over here. You want it for oil spills, genocide here, genocide there. All of the founding fathers and the historical figures of our oppressors, they are all wanted criminals. Alexander the Great was a genocidal, homicidal, serial unaliver. That's who Alexander the Great was. That's who George Washington is. That's who Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander, all of them, John Jay, all of the founding fathers, you understand? That's who they are. The Queen of England, Bloody Mary, Napoleon Bonaparte, you understand? King Leopold, you understand? Who else? The Spanish Armada, the conquistadors, Magellan, the Jesuits, the Pilgrims, the Romans. They are serial mass unalivers. That's who they are. Everywhere they go, they're wanted for doing some crime. You understand? This is a description of who the Lord said the oppressor, the devil, the man of sin is in the Bible. Keep going.
Keep going.
Verse 13. And Cain said unto the Most High.
This is his reply to God.
This is his reply to God.
My punishment is greater than I can bear.
Wow, I got to pay for this. That's too much. It's not that serious. He was asking for it. What about me? That's not fair. I shouldn't have to be paid for what I did. He didn't even care that he just took his brother's life. What about his family? What about what mom and dad are going to have to suffer burying their son? What about his friends? What about his family? What about his oxen, his sheep? What about his contribution to society? What about his life? Don't he deserve to live? Don't he deserve some justice? The furthest thing from our oppressor's mind is, who did I hurt? Who did I victimize? He don't care about none of that. His only concern is, it's too much for me. What about me? You understand? I'm a good person. That's what Amber Geiger said as she executed Botham Jean in his living room. She went downstairs to his apartment, unalived him in his drawers, in his living room, twice in the chest, walked backwards and forwards for about 10, 15 minutes as he bled out, didn't call 911, didn't administer first aid, didn't get him some help. Then she sat in the courtroom and cried, what about me? What about my life? What about me? Like you took someone's life. He didn't give a damn about taking someone's life. That's the furthest thing. That's not even something that concerns him. He only cares that now I have to pay for something I did wrong. Like, that's all he cares about. And that's why Christ has to come and set them in thermonuclear fire to where they're vaporized, because they don't have a conscience about the evil that they've done to everyone, especially to the Lord's chosen people. Keep going.
Verse 14. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth.
The Lord has driven them from the face of the earth. From the face of the earth means to the caves. That's where the word Caucasian comes from. It means cave dweller. The Lord removed him from the face of the earth. If you're looking at the earth as a picture, the face is what you see. So if you're looking at the earth, you see the face of the earth, which is the land. If you are driven away from the face, which is here, where do you end up? You end up in a cave, because that's not where the face is. You drove them into a cave. And that is what Caucasian means. It means cave dweller. And that is where the Edomites come from. The Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, off the Gulf of Aqaba. No stitch of land on the planet belongs to these so-called Caucasian. That's why everywhere he's traveled, he's had to unalive someone to take it. And then he destroys it. And then eventually he starts another war somewhere else so he can take more things, because this is what the Lord is getting ready to tell him. Keep going.
Shall I be hid?
Read that one more time.
Read that one more time.
The last
And
The last part.
from thy face shall I be hid.
meaning from thy face, meaning the Lord is not with the oppressor. Christianity has made you feel that God is with him because of how the curses are on us. The curses are on us from disobeying the Most High. And that makes you think that the Lord is with the oppressor. But the more and more we turn back and serve the Lord, we'll realize the oppressor is the reason that we are in such a horrible state. And we have to turn away from living life like him to turn back to the faith that God gave to our forefathers, which is what is being taught in Hebrews, the 11th chapter, in the same schools, just like you are learning right now in one of those New Testament schools. This is exactly what they were being taught then. This is exactly what you are being taught now. All right. So keep going.
And I should be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth.
A fugitive means a wanted criminal, and a vagabond, someone that does not have a home, because again, no land on the earth belongs to him, because they belong in the caves. This is what God said. This is what's actually written in the Bible that you will never, ever learn in church anywhere, because they don't have the Spirit of God. And in the Christian church, their God is the man of sin that 2 Thessalonians was talking about. You understand? Keep going.
And it shall come to pass
Right.
that everyone that findeth me shall slay me.
Read that one more
Read that
time.
one more time.
And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me.
Everyone that
Everyone
finds
that
me,
finds
they're going to
they're going
unalive
to
me.
unalive.
Why? Because I stole something, because I unalived someone, because I took the life of their family, their cousins, their friends. I bombed their cities. I stole their resources. I poisoned their this. I kidnapped their wives, their daughters. Everyone that finds me is going to know that I'm an evil, wicked man that does horrible things everywhere I go. And if they find me, they're going to take my life. So keep going.
Come. Verse 15. And the Most High said unto him,
Right.
therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain,
The Lord said this: whoever slays Cain, whoever takes your life, This is how you know. Keep going.
Vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold.
Meaning, whoever takes one of your lives, whoever takes your life, one of your son's lives, vengeance will be taken upon him sevenfold. The Lord did not leave him with nothing. The Lord's going to turn his back on him. You understand? All right. The Lord is going to give him something because he complained to the Most High. The Lord is not unjust. He's not unfair. He said, okay, everyone is going to take your life when they see me. The Lord said, fine. Whoever unalives you, vengeance will be taken against you sevenfold. That's why if you harm an oppressor, they bomb your country. 3,000 people died in 9/11. 1 million Iraqis lost their lives. You understand? One white woman got sad because allegedly one black child whistled against her. Then they burned down a whole town. Everybody in Rosewood gets unalived. Whole town gets bombed. Because whosoever does anything to Cain, vengeance is taken upon them sevenfold. That is why Cain must fight Cain. You understand? And that's Russia versus America. Russia versus the Ukraine. You understand? America and Great Britain versus Russia. That's Cain going to fight himself. All right, keep going.
And the Most High set a mark upon Cain.
The Lord put a mark on him. Complexion for the protection. Keep going.
Lest any finding him should kill him.
The Lord put a mark upon him so that you can see his blood through his skin. You can see that this is the man that sheds blood everywhere. He put a mark upon Cain. That mark made him distinguishable from every other man on the planet at one time. That mark went away when the flood happened. Everyone on the earth was unalive except for 8 people. The earth later gets refilled back with people again. Several generations later, that mark was reborn back into the earth on Esau. And he came out red and hairy all over like a garment. You understand? That mark was on Esau. That's why he was born with it. And he has the same spirit. Esau is the father of the Edomites. Today are the so-called Caucasians, the oppressor, our chief oppressor, according to the Bible. That's the one who opposeth the Lord, who makes himself to appear to be God, who makes himself the people of God, who makes himself above God, everything. That's what the Bible is talking about. So we're going to pick up from here next week. Where we leave off, we're going to cut that there. All right. Talking about the faith of the Bible. You understand? And what it's based on and what the brothers were being taught about in the New Testament. All right. So we're going to pick up from there. All right. You understand? Bear with me just a moment. All right. Oh, sign Christ. Just a moment. Shalaki. Just a moment. Bear with me there. All right. Come. All right, Akim. So go ahead, clap it up. Most High Christ. I'm going to read these security announcements. All right. ISUPK security announcements. We the ISUPK. We start out at 1 West 125th Street in Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. The brother sister comes into the school. They're off limits for 6 months. They be saluted only. They're here to learn and share themselves with the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers, the 18th chapter, verse 21. Malachi, chapter 3, verses 8 through 10, means 10th in Hebrew, ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Most High gives you, you give to the school. Go right to isupk.com. You'll be able to make an account, put all your information in there. Pay your tithes right online. All right. So there we go. This here. Priest fund. Free will offer for priests, not mandatory whatsoever amount you would like to give. All right. The up and coming holy convocations this Friday. Got the high holy day, you understand, should be the Feast of First Fruits. All right. Feast of First Fruits. All right. This Friday coming up, the Lord's high holy day. Make sure you contact whatever Isupk school, whatever city or state that you're in, so you're there to attend the Lord's high holy day. Yeah, right. And lastly, if any brother wants to become a trooper in the school, you want to get into the work to be a warrior in the army of the Lord, to fight, to deliver your people, to continue this faith that the Most High laid down through our forefathers all the way since the days of Adam and Noah and Moses, Christ, the disciples. Make sure that you are in all black boots, pants, headband, war scarf, you understand? And with that, I'm going to give one courtesy salute. Ahmadim. All right, I'm going to give one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Ahmad Shabbat, Ahmadim, Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakatah, Yadim which means the term, the Shavim. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Ahmad Shabbat, Ahmadim, Barak, Yahweh Shabbat, Yadim class dismissed. That most sign Christ.